Thank you. Now we're kind of in the advanced discussion of parliamentary procedure. And this section we'll talk a little bit more definitive of what is parliamentary procedure, what are some of the nuances of Robert's Rules of Order as well. It is very important, if you are going to be put into the lion's den of any political party, that you have a sense of what are the expectations. There's a lot of people that are thrown into these situations and they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. It can be a very rewarding experience, or it can be a very frustrating time for many activists. And how you prepare yourself for the upcoming convention of your political party will determine whether or not you will have value out of it, whether you will understand what is happening, and whether or not you will actually be able to play a role in helping to shape your party's future. So what is parliamentary procedure? Parliamentary procedure is a predetermined set of rules that will be used to govern the way business will be conducted for that convention. These rules can also be applied to large corporations, stockholder meetings, even city council meetings, the U.S. Senate, and Congress. So it's not something foreign to the United States. We've been using it here for hundreds of years. It's also a system of a procedure that allows an organization to effectively conduct its official business in a fair and democratic manner. What does that mean? Well, as we go through, we'll kind of help define that. It's supposed to kind of help the majority, but also give the minority a voice so that they don't get trampled on. And it's very effective to make sure that things are done in a very methodical way. And there's some wild cards that are out there as well. And we'll go through those. So where does parliamentary procedure fall in regards to other rules? Now here in the United States, that really depends on the organization. But overall, the first set of rules is the U.S. Constitution. You cannot make up rules in an organization or have a Robert's Rules of Order violate the federal law. The same thing happens for the state constitution. You cannot create motions or have agendas that violate the federal or state laws. Also your county ordinances, your city ordinances, and also the bylaws of the national and local organizations. So again, federal, state, county, city, the bylaws of your local organization, and then Robert's Rules of Order. For example, you cannot have a motion on the floor that basically says that you want to intend to murder someone. That violates a few of the other laws that are above your organization. That would immediately violate a state law, because just about every single state, actually all states in all 50 states, have laws prohibiting murder. So, and the federal law, if you murder someone in one location, try to move them to another state, that's a federal crime. So that's part of where Robert's Rules of Order. It's much lower in the definition. It basically kind of says, all right, if you're going to pass a motion, you have to have 50% plus one to be able to pass that motion legitimately. Now, if your organization, say for example, you're in the Senate, and Robert's Rules of Order basically says, look, just a simple majority is all that's needed to end discussion or debate, but you're in the Senate, they actually have their own rule that supersedes Robert's Rules of Order, where you've heard of the term filibuster. That's the whole debate piece. 60 votes is required there in the U.S. Senate. Now, other organizations have other rules such as adjournment and everything else, and we'll get to that later. Now, in another segment that you can watch in one of the links here, you can have, we have an example meeting that you can take a look at. We have two different portions. One shows the meeting without Robert's Rules of Order. The second meeting that we have for you shows a meeting with Robert's Rules of Order. Now, for smaller organizations, do you have to have Robert's Rules of Order? Not really. You can get by without it. But when you get more and more people, you kind of need some semblance of order to be able to kind of make sure that everybody has a chance to be heard. The beauty of parliamentary procedures, it allows you to focus on one item at a time. What that means is that no more than one issue will be discussed at a time, and that also helps to extend courtesy to everyone so that they can remain focused on that one particular issue, and then all of the members of that body have an opportunity to participate in that meeting because you're focused on one issue, you're going through an orderly process. Also, It helps to focus so that we observe the rule of the majority. And there's no group discussion allowed unless the majority of the participants have the patience enough to listen and actually want the debate. It also ensures the rights of the minority. All members have equal access to decision making. You have equal access to the vote. You have equal access to be able to actually discuss. But the first thing that you want to see, especially before you go into a meeting, is you want to know what the agenda is. The agenda sets the course for the cruise of the entire meeting. That agenda is a formal listing of the business that is to be conducted at that meeting. The agenda must be approved by the membership at the start of the meeting in order to follow it. Now, in city council meetings, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes that's set by the city clerk and the mayor, and that's just sent out, and that's what they just go through. Now, in a political event, such as the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, typically right at the very beginning, they'll approve the officers, they'll approve the agenda, and that sets everything kind of in stone. Now, don't worry. There's also, down at the bottom part of the agenda, you'll see new business or old business. So there's still time to bring up other pieces that are important to the body as well, but you have to be quick. Whenever possible, an agenda should be presented to the membership well in advance of the meeting for the membership to review. So for example, if you're part of the DFL or the Republican Party or the Independence Party, and it's a week before the convention that you're supposed to be going, and you haven't received an agenda, you should call in advance or visit their website to see if there's been one published. That way you're not on the back of your heels as to what's going to be discussed. Remember, a well-planned agenda is critical to a well-run, organized meeting. So this is whether you're attending one of the state conventions or you're running your own meeting as well. Now, for a sample agenda, it is really up to each individual organization how they want to have their business conducted. So the typical agenda will typically have your call to order, then you'll have your minutes, so you review the last meeting, make sure that everything is in order, recorded properly, then you approve those minutes. Then you might have topical discussions of new business or old business. Typically it's old business first, and then you would have your new business items. And then after all of that is done, then you have two wild card spots. Old business that we just forgot to put on the agenda, or new business items that we forgot to put on the agenda as well. Neither one are required to be on there, but at a minimum, typically new business out of the two is typically on all agendas. And then right after that, you see adjournment. A time is typically not proposed on there, but generally most people understand how long the meeting should go. For example, a council meeting, the expectation that you're not going to be going to a council meeting that's going to run for 2 or 3 days. They typically expect that it's going to be run for about 2 to 3 hours. Now, for a state convention, it can run multiple days, and you might see a state convention agenda where they actually have different agendas for each of the days, and they could just be doing a recess at the night time so that way people could go to sleep.